This is the miniature 1/12 scale model of a Sears Kit House that I'm building. I'm going to show you how I'm going to be making the wooden flooring for this dollhouse. Between 1908 and 1942, Sears was selling houses and kits. Sears sold more than 70,000 kits in more than 370 different designs throughout North America. The kits weighed about 25 tons and were shipped to customers by rail, and the kits contained over 30,000 pieces. With 70 pages of instructions, the customers would assemble the houses themselves. They said the customer could assemble these house kits in about 3 months. Hey, that's about the same length of time it takes me to assemble an IKEA bookshelf. The kit house for this small house that I'm building would have cost about $425 back in 1913. The kit contained everything you needed to build the house. The millwork, flooring, siding, lumber, gutters, windows, roofing, doors, you name it. The description said the house had floors made of yellow pine. I'm trying to be as accurate as possible with my model, so I'm going to be making the floors from real pine using veneer. If you want to know more about these Sears Kit houses, I'll leave in the link in the description and a link at the end of the video. You just need to give it a click at the end of the video if you want to check it out. I removed the wall that divides the kitchen from the bedroom. I'm going to be using some pine veneer for the flooring. I tested the glue that I'm going to be using to see if it would adhere to the veneer without buckling. It's always a good idea to test the items like glue, stain, paint, etc. before you actually use them on your project. When you're using glue on cardboard paper and veneer, you need to be really careful that the paper and veneer doesn't buckle when the glue dries. I'll be showing you the glue that I'm using later in this video, but first, let's make the templates for the flooring. This is the house and the subfloor. I made the subfloor from popsicle sticks. I'm darkening the area where the wall will be. This wall divides the kitchen from the bedroom. I'm using some paper to create a template for the floor. I used 2 pieces of paper to get the correct width of the floor. I'm using a glue stick to glue these 2 pieces of paper together. I folded the edge of the paper over so I know where to cut the paper to get the template the proper length. Using some scissors, I trimmed the template down to the correct size. I wrote on the template which was the front and where the back door and living room door are located. This is so that I'll know the direction I need to lay the template down into the model. I used a bit of painter's tape to hold my template in place. I then took another sheet of paper and marked it with a pencil. This is where the doorway leading out to the porch will be. I used a ruler to draw the lines where the doorway is located on the template. I cut the piece of paper to the width of the doorway. I then placed this piece of paper in the doorway after trimming it to the exact size. When I was happy with the width, I used my glue stick and stuck the piece of paper onto the paper template. Hey, if you're enjoying my video, please hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. As a small YouTuber, it really helps me out. And if you could leave a comment and let me know what you think of my miniature house, that'd be awesome. It really helps the YouTube algorithm and helps push my videos out when people leave comments. I gotta tell you, this YouTube thing is really a hard nut to crack, especially for channels in this niche. I repeated this process for the other doorways. I put a mark at each end of the template and drew a line connecting these points. I'll be cutting off the exact portion of the template using scissors. I used the ruler to draw a straight line where I put my marking so that I can trim the template down to size. Using some scissors, I cut the template to the exact length that I needed. I placed the template back in the house and checked to make sure that it was the exact size and shape. I'll use this template to cut out the wooden pine veneer, which I'll be using to make the wooden flooring for this 1/12 scale miniature house. I turned the model around so I could create the template for the opposite side of the house. This room will be the bedroom. Here you can see the template in the kitchen, and I'm now going to be making the template for the bedroom. I'm using the exact same process to create the template for the bedroom flooring. I now have 2 templates completed, and you can see here they fit nicely in the house and the floor area. Notice on the template I've marked off where the doors are and which door they are. For example, the door leading into the living room or the door leading into the kitchen, etc. This is going to help me when I'm cutting out the other pieces of flooring. I removed the 2 templates from the model dollhouse. I'm using some posterboard to make copies of these 2 templates. I labeled the top side and the bottom side of the templates. The posterboard template will be glued to the wooden subfloor of the house. The paper template gets glued to the wood veneer, and the paper then gets glued to the posterboard. Using a little bit of painter's tape, I taped the paper template to the posterboard. Don't use large pieces of tape because you'll need to remove this later. You just need a small piece of tape to keep the paper template securely fastened to the posterboard. Using a ruler, I traced the paper template onto the posterboard. Once I traced the template onto the posterboard, I removed the painter's tape. Be careful not to rip or damage the paper template. I used my ruler and pencil to fill in any gaps on the posterboard that weren't drawn in because of the painter's tape. I marked on the posterboard template which is the top and marked the locations of the doorways. I labeled these areas on the template as well. The living room doorway, the closet doorway, and so on. It's quite important that you mark these different parts on the template. This will keep everything organized because you'll be gluing these all together, and if you get it wrong, your pieces will be in the reverse direction that you actually need. Using some scissors, I carefully cut out the posterboard templates. Once I cut the posterboard templates, I went back and checked them to make sure they fit properly in my miniature 1/12 scale Sears Kit House model. Make sure you mark on the template the side that you need to apply the glue to. This is really important when you're assembling your flooring. Using some wood glue, I applied a layer of glue to the posterboard template. You don't want to use too much glue on the cardboard because it could buckle, but you need to make sure you get a good covering of glue around the edges of the template. As well, make sure you put some glue in the center of the template to make sure it sticks properly to the subfloor of the miniature model. I laid the posterboard template onto the subfloor of the model dollhouse. I flipped the model around. I glued the other posterboard template in place. I laid out my painting tarp and prepared to glue the veneer to the paper templates. You need to be really careful with these rolls of veneer. They're really thin and brittle and they'll easily break along the wood grain. I'm using some spray adhesive to glue the veneer to the paper templates. I marked on the template the direction of the grain that I want the wood flooring to run. Unfortunately, you'll see later that I messed up and I got the grain going in the wrong direction from the way I really wanted it. The flooring should run in the same direction throughout the house. The flooring in the pantry and bedroom closet run in the opposite direction. Oh well. This can be our little secret. It's okay if things aren't always perfect when you're building your miniatures. I carefully unrolled the veneer. I tried not to split it any more than it had already been split. I laid the paper template over the veneer. Using a pair of scissors, I carefully cut the veneer to the size I needed. The size of the veneer needs to be slightly larger than my paper template. You can see here how my veneer split on me. The stuff's really quite brittle and delicate, so be careful with it. I sprayed one side of the paper template as well as the back of the veneer. I gently pressed the paper template to the veneer. I tried to get out any air pockets and wrinkles. I sprayed the adhesive onto the back of the second paper template and the second piece of veneer. I let the adhesive dry to the veneer before trimming it. Using my straight edge and an X-Acto knife, I carefully trimmed the veneer to the same size as my template. Use a sharp utility knife to do this and a straight edge. After trimming the veneer to the size of the template, I checked to see how it would fit in the 1/12 scale model dollhouse. The wood pine veneer flooring seemed to fit pretty good. The next step was to glue the veneer to the floor of the dollhouse. The reason I'm using the paper backing and the posterboard is to try to get a better bond. I found that using the adhesive on wood against wood didn't really seem to stick as well. I sprayed the cardboard templates that I had previously glued to the dollhouse with the spray adhesive, and then I sprayed the paper backing of the miniature pine flooring. I pressed the pine veneer flooring into place. I used several clamps and wooden beams across the floor to secure them tightly and keep everything flat while the adhesive dried. This should hopefully keep the veneer from lifting and buckling. Because the veneer is shipped in a coil, it tends to be a bit springy. I need to make sure it doesn't bow when the glue dries. I used several pieces of wooden clamps to securely hold the veneer flooring in place. You'll see here that I used a variety of different types of clamps. That's because that's all I've got in my workshop. Sometimes you don't have all the tools you need to do the job properly, so you just have to make do with what you've got. As long as it works, that's all that matters. I let the adhesive dry overnight to make sure that it was secure and that the adhesive had dried thoroughly. Here you can see all the clamps and pieces of wood holding down the veneer pine flooring. The next day, I removed the clamps. And there you have it. The pine flooring's been glued to the subfloor of my 1/12 scale miniature model Sears Kit House. The next steps are going to be to stain the wood and put the grooves in the wood to make it look like planks. And there's the video I told you about earlier, the one about how much these Sears Craftsman kit houses actually cost 100 years ago. You'll be surprised when you find out how much these houses actually cost. Give it a click and check it out. We'll see you in the next video.